That's what you do. You buy these clothes that cost money and make a difference in it. But we never do that.
Never complains, gets up, gets on, with a smile on his face.
They just want you to sit in your chair and go, hip hip hooray, for the Western press and the Western narrative. Regurgitating the same old, same old, same old, every single day, without the truth. If you haven't seen it before, please watch the first season, the first 2 episodes, the second season.
We are on the site of the castle.
And it was the first time the Beatles had really stopped being semi-professional almost.
Look at that.
Absolutely fascinating.
Hey everyone, it's me again. It's do you know what? I'm going to ask you one question. One question. Is Trump a flopper? Does he go from one to another? That's all I'm asking. Is this what he does? Does he go from one to another? Because I'm sorry, he does. My opinion. And it got me the other day when he came out and said about America winning the war. That was the most pathetic comment I've ever heard. The only other pathetic comment I heard was at the inauguration of President Barack Obama, when he said there was no need for it. He's just talking, giving a speech, inauguration speech, and he said, "And we won the 2 world wars." And I was sitting there, I was sitting listening to it, and I went, "No, you haven't. No, you didn't. Where did you get this from?" And Trump come out and said, "We won the 2nd World War," forgetting what the Soviets did. Forgetting that between 15 and 20% of the might of the German army were fighting the Allies. From the Normandy beaches through France and Belgium and Holland. Between 15 and 20%. The rest, 80 or 85%, were fighting the Russians. So you see this patheticness of an American president. They think that they've done everything. They think they've done everything and won everything, and they haven't. They can't win a war without someone at the back of it. This is how pathetic it is. But that's those for you. That's those for you. Anyway, let's see if you're all here. Oh, there's Myra. Hi, Frank and friends. Hiya, Myra. Good to see you. Edward. Hello, Myra. Hi, Edward. And Edward says, Frank's YouTube takeover is at phase 3. What are you not? The red bird. How do you, Frankie boy? I had the filmmaker down today. I was supposed to go for lunch, couldn't go because I was having someone in to do something he never showed. I'll be there Monday, and so profound apologies. So I said, okay, couldn't do anything. And this filmmaker came down, and we went over the plan, what I wanted. He's just a filmmaker, right? And it's going to be good. Honestly, it's going to be good. No negativity of our city. No, you're going to see the beauty of Liverpool. You're going to know about the history of Liverpool. You're going to know about the connections with the rest of the world and Liverpool. And what we gave the world, by the way, not just the nation, not just the city, but the nation. What we gave. Surprise. I'm not going to go into that tonight. I read bed. The mince pie man told me. Now then, Frankie and chat, thank you for that pint. The red bird. Hi, Myra. Hi, Edward. Hi, Tony. Look, they're all letting on to one another. Absolutely. Love you so. That's a good point, though. Maybe, says Edward, maybe because wars haven't stopped yet. They haven't. Who starts all the wars? You've only got to look at NATO. NATO, they start bombing places. NATO belongs to America, by the way. They say, yeah, go bomb them. 1999, they went into Serbia. Bomb them. Serbia. But I was sick. It was last Friday, a week ago, on the 9th of May, Vucic, there was little pockets of the Balkan states wouldn't allow him to fly into their airspace because he wanted to go over to this parade in Moscow. And they stopped him from going. And there's a photograph of him today in Albania with the rest of the EU people. Why didn't he just stay away? You know, Kaya Kallas, she was threatening him last week, threatening him. And he's standing there with all these silly people. Maybe, you know, it's the old saying, is it? Know your enemies, but hold close to them. Be close to them. I hope so, anyway. Hello, Mara. Hello, Paul's well. Hello, Redbeard. The black and white boy. Evening, Frank and chat. So I want you to comment, you know, what you think's going on. I'll be talking about the negotiations that fell apart in Istanbul. Anyway, good evening, Frank and legends in the chat, says Johan. If you see me doing this, it's because of Mitchie Jonas. I'm sorry. I can't help it. I just scratch the itch. That's what we do. Scratch the itch. Toscana. Ciao Franco, ciao Toscana. Come stai? Ciao Franco and everyone. Interesting subject, yeah, will be. Once we get going. Hello Frank, says the vlogs. Mare, to everyone, all the this is great. Is that Evan Seasman? Is that Evan Seasman? Hello, Frank. Hello, Evan. Oh, I've never seen you, have I, before? Are you the Seasmans from around Scotland Road? Do you come from that family? The Seasmans? Let me know if you're still with us. The black and white boy. No wars equals no arms sale. Well, that's it. This is what it's all about. The military complexes making a hell of a lot of money. But what you have in Congress, they're being paid off to talk about all this. All these congressmen. So they want wars. As long as America ain't in it, it's as simple as that. You've heard them saying time after time, well, no Americans are being killed. Lindsey Graham, he just hates Russia, put it that way. Lindsey Graham, senator. And he kept saying, didn't he? We want this war to go on to the last Ukrainian. Why wasn't he picked up on that? And he boasted that there's no Americans being killed. No one picked up on that. Only the likes of us. No media, no Western media picked up on that. That absolute disgrace. Lee Johnson, good evening, all. Another broadcast at the Liverpool office. We've got not today, unfortunately. I've got Jason Gleaves. He's agreed to come on the show. Got a message today off Jason, not Jason Gleaves, but Jason, the producer. He said he's a little bit busy at the moment, but he can't wait to come on, which is great, to talk about these made up. And I also, in the next few weeks, I've got a paranormal fella on. Paranormal. He said there's some things that need to be said, he said. I think he tunes in to one of the shows that I was doing. And I don't know what one I mentioned. I don't know whether I mentioned about Rodney Street and a taxi driver waiting for the fare. And he seen this fella coming down the street. Just coming down the street and walked into the cemetery. But don't forget, there's no entrance to the cemetery. No St. Andrew's Church. There's no entrance, just railings. And he just walked in and disappeared. So he said, I've got something about that, which I made up with. Callum. Ciao Franco. Come sta? Bene grazie. Bene grazie. A lei. A lei, Callum. Edward. 1,000 prisoners swapped between Ukrainian. That's phony, though. Because Ukraine hasn't got 1,000. It means he fucked already, Edward. Ukraine hasn't got 1,000 prisoners. It's just like, look, we've captured them. Look at us, we've captured them. We've got 1,000 of them. It's like today that came out that 994 unfortunate dead prisoners' bodies were exchanged for dead prisoners. 34, 39 or 34, something like that. But the 994 prisoners belong to Ukraine. The 30 odd belong to the Russians. You see how it is? And that was only today, though. Evan Season. Yes, my family grew up around the Scotland Road. I knew them. My mum was, I forget her name. Was it Susan? Susan Season. Was it Susan? My mum was great friends with her and my Auntie Leah. Yeah. Used to come down to my grandmother's, when they were young. Used to go out. the seasons. Well, the lady, the woman. Oh, great, that small world. Very small. Thank you, Evan, for that. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Evan. I can name that. Ray says, Tom Slemon, my guess. It was I've spoken to Tom on a number of occasions, but he won't do anything like this, on pods or anything, unfortunately. I always remember him saying to me, he said, hey, Frank, can I borrow your voice? I said, what for? He said, because you project well. I said, oh. I said, no. I said, try to keep, because he speaks very low, when he's giving talks. But he's a lovely fella. Tom Slemon. The Anfield Road. Even in Frankie, even in Anfield. Good to see you. Evan says, yes, you've pronounced it right. Thanks, Frank. Old Irish name. Yeah. Can't get over to see you. Can't get over you being a season. Small world. Very small world. The Red Bears Evening Raw. Yes. Yeah, look at that. Hi, chat. Hope you're all well. I'm having an Italian Peroni evening. That's all that I drink, and Moretti. That's all that I drink. And if there's no, if we go into a pub, there's no Peroni, I ask for a Moretti. If there's no Moretti, I only drink, other is Beck's. And if there's no Beck's, walk out. Can't drink, you see. They're not that generous, aren't they? Are chats. They're generous. They're generous. Anyway, to get onto this, we have a situation, Istanbul, and all the shenanigans that was going on. They were supposed to have the talk yesterday on the Thursday, and you've got the greatest of all Russian diplomats. He's the best of all in the world, in my opinion, and that's Sergei Lavrov. He's the best in the world. And he was there. There was rumours that he wouldn't go, but he said, I'm going. And he went. And he's with the negotiators. One of the fellas that he's with, I can't pronounce his bloody name, to be honest. He was there in 2022 negotiating. He was one of the main negotiators. So he's with the Russian negotiating team too. Anyway, he's there with Lavrov and, a few others as well. A few others. And when he said, oh, well, I'm not going, and Zelensky went too. He never went to Istanbul. He didn't go. And he tried to spin it. You must think that you and I are fools. He went there and he said, I didn't go there to Istanbul because the coward Putin wouldn't show. He wouldn't face me. Is he having a laugh, that man? Is he having a laugh? But don't forget, he's scripted. Everything is put in front of him. He's scripted. And he's scripted by two bodies, the EU, the leaders of the EU, and also the Azovs. So I'm going to ask you, why don't you think the likes of Zelensky doesn't want to end this war, albeit that he's wasting young Ukrainian lives? I've been watching on YouTube some prisoners. They're all men. They're old men. One fella, young man, he's only 21. He was sitting in his college, and they dragged him out because they asked him, prisoner of the war. They said, how did how did you get it? He said, I was dragged out, thrown in a van, did 2 weeks training, given a rifle to fire, the bullets in that, what I was training with. And when I was sent to the front, it was another gun that they gave me and I couldn't use it. He said, it's shocking. He said, I didn't want a part of this. Well, you could say that, couldn't you, really? You would say, if you were caught, you don't know whether they're telling the truth. But I believe the old men, by the way. I believe the elder men, the fellas who got grey hair and just shelved. Fellow went out for a packet of pasta. He said, I got told there was pasta in this shop. And he says, I'll go, to his wife. He said, I won't be long. I'll sneak out. He said, I thought I was sneaking very well. He said, and all of a sudden, out of the doorway came 2 fellas and just dragged me. Then a car comes speeding around the corner and I was thrown in. He said, they haven't spoken to my wife since. Let's see what you're saying. I will pay. Evening, Frank. Hope you're well, my friend. I'm okay. Thank you, Will. Made up to see you. Really am. Made up. I can't get hold of Nuke anymore. I can type it in, it'll come up, but it's not the same. There's only Lullasat who's, it's all right, but as regards as Nuke, sorry, Will, it's not the same. That's Greenland people I'm talking about. David Owens, great historian, great archivist, and he says the alleged Ukrainian who attempted to set fire to Starmer's 2 houses was from the Donbass region. Was he from the Donbass region? Angry with Starmer's support for Zelensky. Also this week, Starmer was photographed alongside Zelensky reviewing Ukraine military. An array of regimental flags also included some belonging to the Azov Brigade. David, you remember when, I don't know, was it last year? I think it was last year, only last year, or the year before, the latter part of the year before, I'm not quite so sure, that Boris Johnson invited over the Azovs in Parliament. And they had the flag, the Azov flag, the Nazi flag. It was shocking what they displayed in Parliament. In Parliament. Sick of it. I'm really sick of it. Yeah, funny enough, I was watching Chris Christopher today, Alex Christopher, and I put a comment on, and I said, he's talking about a Ukrainian, and I said, don't you think that it's I never mentioned Donbass or anything, you just enlightened me with that. But I said, could it be a Ukrainian who supports Russia? I don't think it'll be a Ukrainian who, is an Azov or is a Zelensky supporter. Wouldn't be one of them. But he'll go to jail for a long time, that lad. And think about it, how did they get him so quick? I don't know how they got. I won't follow the Western news. I just have to wait to see what filters out on the alternative news about him. The unfair, Frankie, I know it's important what's happening in Russia, Ukraine, but to be honest, lad, I'm getting fed up with it now. So am I. But hang on. It needs to end. It's draining resources everywhere. Ukraine are thieves. I hate them. But that's the point. Look, Russia have said all along, Anfield, if the West stops supplying Ukraine, they're escalating it no matter what. Von der Leyen, she's escalating the war along with her other phonies, Kaya Kallas, Starmer. They're all escalating the war by sending them arms and money. That's what they're doing. You know, what do you want Russia to do? They're not going to stop. They didn't want a ceasefire because why rearm and replenish with troops Ukraine for 30 days? They said, no, we're not going to do that. No conditional ceasefire. None at all. None whatsoever. They're winning. They're winning hands down. Why should they stop? But it's the West. They're supplying all the. I'm fed up with it. I thought Russia would do. Well, they just assigned. I can't pronounce this fella's name. The Russian general, and all the fake news a couple of years ago was that they killed this general. The Ukrainians killed this general, and he's one of the finest generals in any warfare, and he's proved it with the battles he had to take place, especially Mariupol. And they've just appointed him. And the sources that are coming out are saying, so something heavy is going to happen. Something heavy. They're appointing this fella. We'll see. I think it'll be an offensive because Putin wants it ended. Once and for all, ended. I think they'll go for Odessa now. That's it. And as the negotiations ended after only 2 hours, they said instead of losing 4 oblasts, you're going to lose 5. That's it. And America, you know, Anfield, that Trump came out and said, well, I'll tell you what, we'll have the Zaporizhzhia power plant, nuclear power plants, and we'll look after it. Do you think the Russians are going to say, yeah, okay? Well, they didn't anyway. They told Trump where to go. I find that I'm making certain posts on here that are not being seen by Frank. Maybe they are being censored by the bots. Maybe so, I don't know. Maybe so. I haven't seen any, and I'm going down in order, black and white. Edward says, sounds like they're making them. Of course they are. That's why they're supplying them. That's why in 2022, in April 2022, Boris Johnson went over under the orders of Joe Biden to say, don't let them sign that peace agreement. That's why Zelensky, you never heard of any ordinary Ukrainian coming out and saying what they think. Because don't forget, he imprisons all the opposition media, every one of them. And all these investigative reporters, I don't know whether you're aware of this, they were sent to jail. Then they got rid of them. Do you know how? By forcing them in the army and sending them to the front line. Think about that. Because they're all being killed. And Edward says that happened to me once, talking to the black and white boy. Yeah, I see them on the chat, but Frank doesn't see them. It's happened the last few weeks, normally on Friday's show. See, this is a hard-hitting show, you see, black and white boy. It's not like a football show where you call them young Trent for everything. You know what I mean? Calling slot for picking him in the first place, because I did. I blame him for this diversity. You know, the split. Liverpool fan base. Frankie did say, black and white boy, I'm ignoring until Incapi signs. I'd love him. Got no chance of getting him though. And the Anfield to the black and white. Frankie will never ignore you, so it must be YouTube. It's not me. As I said, I go in order. The only time that I go right down is when I have someone with me, and then I have to go right down and miss out a few comments to try and catch up, like I'm catching up right now, but I'm not late with them. And Johan says, Frank, isn't it weird how Russia continues to be banned by FIFA and UEFA? Yet Israel allowed to continue without any consequences. Furthermore, why is Israel even in UEFA? Yeah. We've always said that, though. You know, why is, Maccabi is it? Whatever team it is, in the European Cup, and that's going back years ago. Well, why are they in Israel? And why are they in the Eurovision Song Contest? They're not in Europe. So, we have gone through all this before. But when you get the likes of genocide happening in Gaza, I was watching something, I forget whose pod, it wasn't a pod, it was like a broadcast. And they were outside, and it was the Old Bailey. And some person, it was only yesterday, some person was holding a flag, a Palestinian flag. And I went onto the comments because I thought they'd be supporting, what's happening there. They like the flag, that's all, just support the flag. Disgraceful. The comments were disgraceful. Get that filthy. They think this is the media, you see, telling people who haven't got a brain cell that the Palestinians are terrorists. Now, my daughter's just going on a gig, and she phoned me to say that she'll be down tomorrow. And she said, did you hear about those babies being killed? Newborn little babies being bombed? I said, no. Yesterday. Bombed. Newborn babies. So it's things like that. That's genocide. Because I don't know the fella's name. One of these politicians in Israel. And he said, it's like Herod, the story of Herod, kill the babies. And that's what it was like, kill the babies. And the seeds are gone. That's what he said. Think about it. The Anfield. Frankie, what are your thoughts on the loan? Hang on the loan this country gave to you? 2 billion. This is our contribution to the G7 called Ares Loans Scheme to Ukraine. Ukraine have taken 50 billion. Look, what you've got Starmer signing a 100-year deal. Now, I've got to ask you, please. I've got to ask you, what has Ukraine ever done for us? Have you got any idea? Now, as I was growing up, We used to get New Zealand lamb, for example. I know this may sound stupid. New Zealand lamb and butter. Right. What was it? Grateful. You know, used to have that on a Sunday. And best butter. See? And this is as you're growing up. This is as a little kid. Then, as you grow up, what we got, what we went out and got, was, I'm not being funny, but went out and bought Italian suits. Italian suits. And Giorgio Armani came about. I'm just seeing a thing there. I went so blank that. But anyway, you know, so Italian. Then the Lacoste, then all the French stuff. Oh, great. Then all of a sudden, like my mates, my mates young, you know, just coming into the 20s, they went to Spain for the first time. Oh, great. Went to Spain. What I'm trying to say is, what's Ukraine ever done? Have you ever seen anything with a label on it? Have you? Ukraine done nothing. Done nothing. And we're giving them billions. Absolute billions. But so is everybody else. So is everybody else giving them billions. And it's wrong. It's wrong. Ordinary people, whether you live in Spain, whether you live in Italy, whether you live in France, I'm talking about ordinary European people. And even the European, even the Americans. They're going, why are we paying our tax dollars? But I'm saying, why are we giving away pensioners winter fuel bills? Not winter fuel bill payments. Why are they giving them to Zelensky, the most corrupt fella? He's a defunct leader. Putin's always said, I will not speak to these people. They're not going to sign because once he's gone, once Zelensky's gone, a deal and negotiate. I never signed that. As me, we're going to do this differently. You see, so there's lots of permutations about a signed deal. Putin wants him gone so that he can actually talk to a legitimate leader of Ukraine. And all this began in 1954. 1954. If I criticize a certain two countries, the post disappears. There you go. That loan is part, says the Anfield Road, of our GDP raising defence spending. So it wasn't raised for our own defences. It's just overseas aid in another guise. They must think we're bloody stupid. They've always taught that. You know, it's not only through this, Anfield, it's through everything. Not just through this. It's over the years. And I'm talking about from when I was a young lad. When I realised, you know, what politics was all about. And what the economics was all about of the country. How inflation starts, all this. All this. It happens all the time. But this nonsense, look, I keep saying this, you've heard me saying it, most probably you've heard it on other podcasts as well, that Ukraine is the biggest washing machine in the world. And this is why Europe, the washing machines keeps running, because it's going back to them. It's not going back to you or me. It's going back to them. so corrupt. The Anfield. We already give 3 billion a year as aid to Ukraine, saying Ukraine is vital for UK security. That's the spin. Russia's not going to attack anyone. Russia, when did Russia attack anybody? Hey, when did? And as Oscar Wilde said, remember what he said? Patriotism. So far since 2022, so 9 billion are now a loan of 2.26 billion going out of the country, and we can't afford it. Right, so remember what just applies to all this, what Oscar Wilde said. Patriotism is the virtue of the vicious. And what did Leo Tolstoy say? No, not Leo. Sorry, Leo. Plato. What did Plato say? Plato, no one is more hated than he who speaks the truth. It's just like you, black and white boy. You spoke the truth, yeah, you really are demonized. So no matter how we look at it, Anfield, no matter how you look at this country, is anybody looking after this country? We've got 5.2 million. I think it's gone up to 3. I'm not quite so sure. Children below the poverty line. Think about that. 5.2 billion. But someone said it's 5.3. Makes no difference. All those kids below the poverty line, and we're giving money to a country that has got nothing at all to do with it. And the spin is for security. Are they having why didn't they do it 2 years ago, 3 years ago? All this, you know. Why we after that Russia's going to attack us? Does anybody know the root cause of why Russia went in? Because genocide was being committed in the Donbass area, and Putin from 2014, after the coup d'etat to overthrow the legitimate government of Ukraine, has been saying, the West, you'll have to stop this, step in and stop it. It's genocide. And no one took a blow because it was all planned. Planned. Don't forget, it's like after the 18, when was it? 1886. No, was it 1886, 1884? When Bismarck made Germany into one big mighty Germany by taking in Prussia, Saxony into Germany, making a big mighty country. Bismarck. And he said, no one will mess with us. After the Franco-Prussian War, by the way. After the Franco-Prussian War. And he said, no one's going to mess with us anymore. So from the Franco-Prussian War, 1771, 1870, that's been in the planning stage to have a go at the French and the British. The French never ever forgave the British. You know. Don't forget the British. You know, fighting Napoleon. It was like the only Europe was on Napoleon's. Went to crush Napoleon. And they've never forgiven us for that. We've always been at war with France. Always. But now we're all the best of our mates through this Macron. History is a topsy-turvy thing. Really is. You've got to know the ins and outs of it. I haven't got the time to say about it. Especially Napoleon. But, you know, Napoleon wouldn't have been defeated only for the Russians and the Russian winter. The Germans wouldn't have been defeated only for the Russians and the German winter. I mean, the Russian winter. Strange, you know, because when Napoleon got to Moscow, and on his retreat, he said, that's not there. On his retreat, well, as winter set in, it became the coldest winter in living memory there. When the Germans went in on the siege of Stalingrad, it became the coldest winter in living memory. Those two battles. The retreat and the battle. And that's how the Germans were defeated and the French. I once heard a great phrase, foreign aid is the transfer of wealth from poor people in rich countries to rich people in poor countries. Spot on there, black and white, but look, we give foreign aid, you know. I don't mind that, you know, by the way. I don't mind giving foreign aid to anybody if they need it. If they need it. Yeah, we give foreign aid to one of the richest countries in the world, and I'll surprise you. I'll surprise you. You've got more billionaires, this country, and we give foreign aid to them. And do you know who that is? India. Think about that. So, but you know, like to African countries, yeah, I think people, look, Africa, massive continent, it's very arid. There's famines, there's everything. Now, wouldn't you think that the world would unite so that they would have free flowing water for crops and put the technology there? They don't. Not interested. See, if they did that, it'll stop the depopulation of Earth. Wars, it's the depopulation of Earth. That's the way I look at it. And the Anfield, exactly, Frankie. Ukraine, as far as I know, only contribution was having some of the worst guards and at Jewish concentration camps. And like you say, lad, Nazi propaganda. Oh, it's shocking. People don't realise about that Stepan Bandera. That's so shocking what he did. Now, I watched a programme on him yesterday. Was it today or yesterday? I think it was yesterday. American, obviously. And they were saying, oh, you're nasty man, you know. But they sweetened it. Not once did they mention this particular documentary that he killed over 400,000 Jews, that he was standing there. They've never seen a photograph of him. They're only showing you that, you know, his photograph, his face, you know. And not standing there with a Nazi uniform on. SS. Swastika. None of that. You didn't see any of that. So I thought, oh no. These are just saying, oh, you know, people are going, you know, he's only a nationalist trying to do his best for me. And all the Poles he killed as well. he had killed Poles. But now what you've got Hungary and the Carpathians who want their land back, because don't forget the Allies, good old Allies, after the First World War, split everything up. Split everything up. That was the First World War. They split Poland up. And they split the Slovakian countries up. Don't forget, they're all Slavs. The Russians are Slavs. Ukrainians are Slavs. Remember Yugoslavia? They're all Slavs. Unfair to the black and white. They made a chancellor announcement. They made it and said, budget-wise, it's reduced, and all of a sudden our defence spending went up the exact amount that was deducted from foreign aid. The red bears, yeah, I just said that. Ukraine is a massive money laundering con. Of course it is. Remember when I was doing this and when Trump came in, remember when I said, what he said he was going to do, and I believed him. I said, oh, this is great. You've got the likes of Tulsi Gabbard, I said, I hope he gets to look in the bank book of Joe Biden the last 4 years, what was coming out of Ukraine. Now, don't forget as well, all this nonsense, it's not nonsense, all this is for the denazification of Ukraine, get rid of those Azovs, and that's on the table today. They won't do nothing less. They will do nothing less. Trump knows this, or if he's too thick, if he's listening to Kellogg, General Keith Kellogg, he's a complete, and he's a failure, by the way, failed general, useless. And what he's saying is pathetic. Pathetic. He wants Russia, I'll put it briefly, he wants Russia just to stop the fighting now and leave, parts of like Zaporozhye, Lugansk, Donbass, you see, so leave them. Where the Ukrainians are now, soldiers, just leave them and, withdraw until the future. He's thick. Do you think the Russians are going to go, oh, so in the future, they can just come in again? It's the Russian Federation, fella. It's been voted. People voted that they want to stay in Russia. Like Crimea. Crimea, but yeah, honestly, they're under the Russian Federation. It's all to be under Ukraine. They're not believing it. Oh, Barry, sorry, Barry. Even if Frank, is Ukraine primarily a supplier of wheat and the like, and maybe we don't have any other connection with them? No, you're spot on there. You're spot on. But where the most wheat comes from is where? Don't say America. You think, like, when you see these films and you see, where serial killers hide, these coalfields and, where all this wheat is. It's not there. It's Russia. Russia. Through sanctions, they throw more sanctions on Russia. They're pathetic. But the wheat's coming out of Russia and we're taking it. Can we have some of that? I want to make a loaf. Can I have some of that? It's like the oil. It's just like the oil. This is how petrol prices are going up. We get it. Do you know a diesel car? You can only make it with one certain oil. So if you see anyone driving around in a diesel car, it's coming from Russia. Did you know that? So you see, it's the pathetic. I think the average Russia, do they think that we're fucking stupid? We are, unfortunately. To them. We take everything. Have you noticed why? Remember, it was a couple of years ago. And I don't know, it has been enforced, no demonstrations. Because they knew what was coming up. They knew all about this. What's going on today? What about the conscription? Think about it. That'll come in. But yeah, guess what? It's like what the minerals here that's supposed to be signed by Trump. Who owns the most land for that deal? Russia, because it's under the Russian Federation now. I worked in London 2 years ago, and I'm still washing the stench off me. But I had 2 plasterers from Ukraine. They said to me, they got out of Ukraine. It's deserted and nobody's there. Yet they're all hiding in the houses and the cellars. As I said about Carlyle for it, I was listening to. He got out. He went for pasta. He said, someone said to him, there's a shop, just, like gyms down the road selling their pasta. And, they thought, are they, yeah. And he said to us, well, I'll go, don't be worrying. I'm too old now anyway, to be snatched off the street. But he said, I will go alleyways or whatever there's over there. And 2 fellas just come out of the doorway and just grabbed him. A car came around the corner, threw him in, and he's at the front line and got captured. He was made up, he was captured. And do you know what the Russians say? I don't know whether you've seen this. The Russians say, do you know your phone number home? Yeah. And they phone home and you see, talking to the wives or the husbands, not the husbands, the wives or the mothers and fathers, saying I'm okay, don't worry. And this is what it's all about. That's what the Russians do to these POWs, prisoners of war. They just want it to end, they said. But they're bound to, aren't they? See, when you've been talking to them, and they're looking at you, they're wondering, well, whose side is he on? Is he on, like, Zelensky's, the Kiev side, or is he on the Moscow side? You see, so you've got to be very wary. Even if you said, I wanted to stop, but, I support Russia, you shouldn't have been bombing and shelling the Donbass area killing civilians for 8 years before the SMO. See what I mean? And they mightn't believe you. Might still be wary. I'd do it. I'd be very wary. Talking to someone whose country that you're in. I could tell you a couple of stories. What I've heard about a family who came over to Liverpool. The husband was over there in Ukraine. He never got a house, but they went to live, when they were saying take Ukrainians in, this woman walked in and she just took over the house for a widow. She was showing them, where there were 2 kids, the rooms, what they could stay in. The woman went, no, I'm not staying in there, I want this room, which was the ladies' room. She said, no, no, I'm taking it. I don't know what I was getting told about that. I think they are all corrupt. It's just some to use the gun, and countries like the USA and others use the fountain pen. Yeah, that's that Lindsey Graham said. At least American soldiers are not being killed. We'll fight. It's a proxy. How can anyway, getting back to Trump, how can they be a mediator? They started in 2014, all this. And Biden told Boris Johnson in 2022, April 2022, get over there, make sure that they don't sign. We want to carry on this. And where was all the biolabs? Right on all the biolabs were right on the border of Russia. In Ukraine, that is. Right on the border with the biolabs. What does a biolab tell you? Rather than me tell you. I don't know what it is. I've seen a comment on there, they said about one of the negotiating team, and it was horrible. They said, a dirty Russian Novichok fellas there. God, these people haven't a clue. Novichok. We've got the Novichok, the Russians haven't anymore. It's think about it, 1.23 million Ukrainians. Think about that. Gone. What for? The cream of British youth is no longer. And that was Wilfred Owen. The cream of British youth. 1 million of them gone. First World War. And these lads, that man who was telling you about going for a packet of pasta, right to the front. I don't know whether you've seen them on YouTube or anything. I could show it if you were here, I could show you. Being dragged. Fella, a Deliveroo, is it? Whatever they are. On his bike. Big bag on it. All of a sudden he was pushed off it. And lashed into a van. That's what they're doing. Dragging you off the streets. Younger lads, old lads. I see 2 getting dragged in. It was only brief. But this fella here, right to the mind. Heavy built, and he's still 300. Youngfield, a theory I have on immigration into this country so far, into this country, immigration into this country. So, if our own young people can't afford to buy or live in the central London, Our people with nothing able to. I'm ashamed of this country. I think we become ashamed do you know ex-soldiers who are suffering from that PSD? That's how they become homeless, because they become nuisances to the families or to the wife, and they get thrown out, and they end up, look, homeless. Nothing's being done to help those lads. I mean, because of the situation they're in with PSD, and we're still, they're not being helped with accommodation. I remember, 3 months ago, whatever it was, I was just lying in bed. I was freezing. I had the duvet over me, I was fucking freezing. And I was thinking about saying to myself, anyone sleeping in the doorway now? And it was howling, the wind was howling. I could hear outside. And I'm thinking, that's going into doorways where people are staying. I think we can all be ashamed of our countries. The unfair to Barry Aldridge. Barry Aldridge, it's money and greed. There was an interesting theory, and I suspect truth, that AIDS was a corporate. I'd known that for years. Years. And we had a debate once, and it started. And I said, it was man-made. It wasn't sexually transmitted through. Yeah. I might have to go and get me glasses. Do you mind if I go and get me glasses? Me reading glasses. I'm straining. I can't read there, which is better for me. At the bottom of this, because you can't see what I've got there. Just a minute, please. Won't be a sec. That's it. I can read. It's amazing, Do you know it's straining my eyes? Anyway, Anfield says to the Barry, it's money and greed. There was an interesting theory, and I suspect the truth, that AIDS was a corporate lab's invention to boost chemistry industry. And recently, COVID needs a shame more. Well, you know about COVID now that it was, and they blamed the Chinese in Wuhan, and it wasn't the Chinese. That's what I said about the biolabs in on the border of Russia and Ukraine. And who's part of that? Who set them up? Joe Biden. Joe Biden's son, Hunter. Why do you think his laptop all of a sudden? Why isn't that being revealed? and they quaked when Russia went in, and they were destroying as much as they could to get the, to all the materials, everything, destroying the materials, notes, everything, smashing up computers. Myra, Trump wants out of the Ukraine war. I think planning a walk away from the situation. No one can negotiate with a junkie, the cocaine heads. But the point is, he could have walked away. I remember you saying to me, Myra, will Trump, stop it in the day when he becomes president, because he won the election, didn't he, on when he was saying, I'm going to stop it in the day. But what's he saying now? The war would never have started, but it's become his war now. Because all he had to do was to say to the Ukrainians, that's it, no more intel, no more arms. I'm taking everybody out of Ukraine, all American. Don't forget, these missiles that are going over to Russia, these long-range missiles, they're all set off by the Americans, because the Ukrainians can't work them out. It's like a nuclear war. Let's just say this. Suppose Macron, who I don't trust anyway, he mentions, didn't he? He's the first one to mention about a nuclear warhead against Russia. Remember that? Well, he's just come out and said it. He's just come out and said it. So, he said that. But do you think that there's some French fella going like that, or him? Do you think he's there to go, bing, and press the button and a nuclear thing? No. America. They've got their finger on the button for the Europeans, even us. And Liverpool, believe it or not, I don't know about now, but we were the blackest spot in Europe, especially during the Cold War, because all the nuclear stuff was coming through here, Liverpool. Right up until a few years ago, not just the Cold War, 1989, it wasn't then, when the wall came down. That was the end of the Soviet. Anyway. See, with you saying that, Myra, we once out, I can't really see it, sweetheart. I really can't. Because why doesn't he just pull out now? Why doesn't he just say, I've had enough? Zelensky is dictating everything. He's manipulating everything. He shows up everywhere. He shows up in, whether he was invited, I don't know, Albania. He's not even in the European Union, and he just showed up. He showed up at my Pope's funeral. It was shocking him. He's shocking. And went with a pair of military boots on. He's a meth. But we call him meth. You had the delegations today, you had the Americans, you had the Russian delegates, and they were all had suit and ties on. Some Ukrainians had suit and ties, but you see the other prats in military uniform. And that tells you, if you can't see it, that tells you with them sitting there that they don't want the war to go to end. Now, that's the question. Why? Why don't you think they want it to end? Toscana, it's a breath of fresh air listening to you, Franco. The Ukraine and Zelensky. I've been saying it for a long time, but I've had to stop posting it on Facebook. As some people are gullible and think he's a war hero. Yeah, he's not. He's a coward. There was a Jewish, from the Kisner, there was a Jewish fella, a politician, and I think he was Prime Minister at the time, or one of the, whatever he was anyway. And he wouldn't come out of his bunker. I don't know whether you're aware of this. Zelensky. He wouldn't come out of his bunker because he really thought that Putin had said he's targeted. Right? So he asked this Jewish politician, he was in Moscow, and he said, is he targeted? He's terrified to come out the bunker. He said, no. He said, we could have him anytime. He's not targeted. And he came out all brave, he's standing in front of him like this. He's a coward. Corrupt. He's bought houses all over the place. His cohorts found in Switzerland. Did you know that in Switzerland, was it today, that saboteurs, Ukrainian saboteurs, have been arrested? Have you heard of the assassinations by the Ukrainians on Russians, like journalists and generals? Did you ever see Russia doing that? Loads of red flags. And I don't mean Liverpool Football Club red flags. Loads of them, boy. So you've got to be careful, Toscana. You just take no notice of these people. You just sit back and they just think that it was wrong of Russia to go into Ukraine, but they don't know why. They don't know. But I just say to them, anyone who says it, comes here, you ever heard of Victoria Nuland? And they go, no, who's she? Once I say that, and once they say no, who's she? I just say to them, you know nothing about this, then. You know nothing. Because Victoria never gets mentioned in the Western press. She started it all in Ukraine, in Kiev. Redbirds, your posts aren't appearing, lad. Raw, I used to be patriotic, but not anymore. The powers that be let millions of people who hate this country, who hate this country, all us natives, they do. It's only going to get worse. But you can't say too much. Can't say too much. You see, I always used to put on posts, hashtag freedom of speech. Free freedom of speech. The unfortunate thing is it doesn't get mentioned. The freedom of speech, it's gone. You can go to jail for it, no matter who you are. You can go to jail. See what I mean? There are lots of things to do with social media. And social media is a great platform to get propaganda over. It really is. It's brilliant, because as you said, Toscana, about Redbird and Toscana, about people disbelieving what you're saying. Because they're just looking at the news, the Western news. They read what the papers say. There's a paper here that we despise. It's horrible. And they came out with a headline which was disgusting against Russia. Just a blatant lie. Forget what it was now. And that was only yesterday. I should have photographed it. I should have done. And it was just a blatant lie. And it was about Putin. It was about the negotiations. And not once did Putin say, I'll be at Istanbul. Not once. And yet they're spinning it to say that he did say it. Even Trump is spinning it. He knew that I was going. That's why he didn't show up. Zelensky's saying it as well. Zelensky. Come on. Why did he go to Ankara? And what I've always said about Erdogan, never trusted him. Never trusted him. That man. Remember when Putin asked Erdogan, he said, will you look after some Azov prisoners? He wanted to put them up on war crimes. And he said, yeah. And then he let them out free, back to Ukraine. Does anybody remember that? And that's why I said I'd never trust that Erdogan, ever. So you see Erdogan shaking hands with him and hugging him. Go away. And Mara says, no, I don't see some of the comments. Answer the red bird. No, that's weird because they are showing my end on phone and TV. I must have upset MI6. See, we're all monitored. Are we saying anything hateful here? We're just giving it a balance, aren't we? You know, the balance might come out is, well, Ukraine is in the wrong here. The West is in the wrong. But I'm trying to explain why the West is in the wrong. Like the coup d'etat in 2014 by the Americans to overthrow a legitimate who people of Ukraine voted for. And all because he wanted to trade with and have, friendly things with Russia. He was thrown out in a coup d'etat. Shocking. Shocking. That was in 2014. But it stems back to the 90s. With all these, the Minsk Agreement, 1, 2, and 3. And Angela Merkel, she came out and said it was all a ploy to build up Ukraine army and the arms take on Russia. That's why Biden came out with that horrible phrase, to the last Ukrainian. America, how can America mediate for a peace deal? They're the cause of the war. And the West, by egging them on. How can they be mediators? Let's go down. Mara says, excuse me. I says to the outfit, there are some comments that Frank is reading that I cannot see. It happens every time on this show, does it? I don't know, you see. I'm just reading them out. The outfield says, Redbird, I thought very thoughtfully about that, but one more Peroni, I could become a fraudulent slip. Fraudulent slip. Myra, that's because Frank is on the MI6 watch list. I think you're right there. Frankie will be hiding in the Ecuadorian embassy like his son, says the outfield daughter. Oh, down at St John's Lane and the Dr. Duncan's pub. That'll be better. Getting the freedom of speech in there, in the back room, the little corner. Free our Frankie, he doesn't want to be a Midnight Express merchant. Me and the Redbird are going to flash our breast against no plexiglass. And was it a terrible film, that one? Horrible. That was horrible, that film. He died of age, you know that Davis, you get his first name. He actually died of AIDS. Did you know? Good actor as well. Yeah, Frankie, that point on veterans is so true. Also, a lot of World War II lads say now they wouldn't have risked their lives defending these current bastards' freedoms. A lot of them have said, these current bastards. What did Biden come out and say about, the democracy, freedom of democracy? That's what Ukraine has defended. And right away, look, Zelensky, as you know, he imprisoned the people he's imprisoned. It's incredible. Every media outlet against him. Everyone. Put them all in jail, man and woman. Put them in jail. As I said about the investigative reporters, he had them join the army and sent them to the front to be killed. And they were investigative reporters, journalists. You had TV and that shut down. So he had no opposition. There was no opposition to come on the telly and say this fella's doing us all wrong. The president, he was voted in for peace. That's what he was voted in for, Zelensky, for peace. And look at it today. All those Ukrainians dead. Russians have died as well, by the way. And field. AIDS was man-made. It wasn't in DNA. And to say, oh, it was a fella in a jungle with a chimp and from Tinders is naive. Funny, similar to COVID, isn't it? Oh, it was a Chinese market. Yeah, that's where it was tested. And I'm talking about AIDS. I'm talking about AIDS. It was tested in Africa, especially ports. I read that I was reading this stuff, and it was fellas dressed as some as tourists with the wives. He has all this stuff. They were injecting people, fellas, especially fellas. They were injecting them so that they could spread. And I'll tell you who else they injected: sailors. Sailors going away to sea. They injected them with the AIDS thing. Knew how. I knew that it wasn't there. It was. I'm talking about COVID. It was North Carolina that's come out. That's where it was manufactured. North Carolina. I became institutionalized in my own home through lockdown. I hardly go out. Very rarely. I go shopping. Francine comes with me to go shopping. In the car, up to the supermarket, out of the car, into the supermarket, walking around with a trolley, out of the supermarket, in the car, back home. That's me. I'm seizing up. People don't realise that. I'm seizing up. And that's all because of lockdown. It's all because of lockdown. Me. And, there's not just me, there'll be people all over the world. I was never a want to stay in. I was always active. I was very active. But since the old neck. But at least I was getting exercise going. I got it no more. That's what COVID did to me. And a lot of other people. Frankie has Scully under the desk working on his deep probe. Scully being too rough, no wonder Frankie's in. I said the laugh says the answer that the black Americans were up in arms this week when 50 white South Africans were given asylum, calling them apartheid, this and that, calling them this and that. Just 50, and yet Biden allowed some 10 million in. Got to be careful what you say, though, because that could be deemed as. But you're right. You're right. There's no getting away from it. Look, we've always said we don't mind giving foreign aid to countries that need it. We don't mind bringing in legitimate refugees, getting away from war torn. We don't mind that. That's good. Keep them safe. But where are the migrants coming from? And are their countries war torn? Think about it. You can't defend yourself anymore either. You can go to jail, says Edward. Absolutely right. You can go to jail. When asked this week where you start in lowering immigration reforms, Richard Tice said, it's easy. prisons, there are some 10,000 illegal prisoners in our prisons. Why? Somebody is letting them in. Someone is getting an earnest. Well, it's corruption, isn't it? Look at that lad a couple of years ago, before all this Russian thing, and he was coming through Dover, and so got to the custom. He said, undo your thing. Anyway, big heart sick, freezer. And remembered he was 30 odd Chinese, Vietnamese inside, and they were all dead. Froze to death. There's some Irish lad. The Redbirds. Since blacks took power, they have been torturing and murdering white South Africans, especially the farmers. One black gets killed by a white, it's worldwide news. Yet, the other way around, it's covered up. See, there's no balance. That's the unfortunate thing. No balance whatsoever. And that's what causes racism. Joke for Frankie. What does a blind gynecologist and a dog having? Don't even want to go to that bit. Do you think I'm an actor? What a lead actor, Frankie. Oh, poor fella. Is anybody in chat? What's going on? I'm not seeing any. I think let's see. Let's go down. I don't think there's anybody here. I think Myra's still here. I think the likes. I don't know where Black and White Boy's gone. I don't know where Callum's gone. I don't know where Edward's gone. If anyone is here, please help me. I'm stuck here with Darwin the goat. And he's trying to tell me Darwin is working. You have to remember him. He was a nice lad, wasn't he? You know what I mean? Yeah. Frankie, I'm going to go and come back. And Barry says, I'm here, Frank. I'm here, says Toscana. So, you know, there are people here. It's just that they haven't been commenting. I get it all the time. Just get it all the time. And I'll be ending in 20 minutes. So you see, no matter how you look at things, let's see what was said, because I went late down. I only wanted to see. And the Johan says, we're here. Maybe refresh the stream. I can't. If I go off here, I won't be able to. The Red Bears has a good one. He says, Raw has had too many parolees. They do say too much drinking can blind you. What you said, drinking can blind you. sort of, I'm not here, Frank, but my A1 clone is. What's your film called? Replicas? Keanu's it. Keanu. Replicas. It's good, actually. Hello, can you see me? My, Trump is correct. It is genocide in my country. It's recommended blog Big Daddy Liberty, a Zulu. There are many black blogs that speak the truth. I could say a lot of things on here, to be honest, but I can't. About some very people who be made, I'm not even saying martyrs, but they made great, and deep down they weren't. They were horrible. They were murderers. And but as they say, they want to like have peace. Look, I hate apartheid. And you've seen the way the West was going, oh, this is wrong, this, down in South Africa, this is wrong, which it is wrong, by the way. I'm just trying to prove a point here. I'm just trying to, I'm not being funny, but when you look at Gaza and the Palestinians, that's apartheid. But on a much vicious scale than it was in South Africa. They built a fucking wall. A wall. They had all the amenities to turn a tap on, beep, which was water. This is Israel, by the way, into the Gaza, into Palestine. And they had a big switch to turn the lights off and on. And they gave them water for years and electricity for 3 hours a day. Think about that. Think about that. And before all this, October the 7th, does anybody ever remember 5 kids playing on the beach? Football. 5 young kids playing football on the beach. And they were blown to smithereens. Nothing was done about it by the idea. Does anybody ever think about that? I do, constantly. But nothing's done. And yet, it's a million times worse. I know it sounds terrible. You might think, oh, you're over the top there. But it's a million times worse than the apartheid going on in South Africa. What's happening today in Gaza? As I said, Francine Foreman, she said babies have been killed at, bombed, deliberately. I had to have a Peroni in Frank's commercial. When was it? I haven't when I went for these. Barry, I'm not clever enough to pass comments sometimes. Don't be just say anything. Don't be stupid. I didn't mean that. I meant like, when you say, don't be stupid. Don't say that. Please, Barry, please don't say that. These are great people, aren't they? lovely people. Remember Darwin the goat? You know what I mean? Darwin the goat who said Darwin's great. You give him another 6-year contract and all this. Don't be like that, mate, honestly. You're here, you're a family member. Don't forget. Toscana. Anfield. Anybody there? I thought you were doing a seance. Oh, that's tickling me there. That's cracking that. The Anfield says it. Now, Frankie, we're on our own. Let's talk about that watch, lad. Okay. I think I'm deserving it for being a loyal Frankie supporter. And let's admit, it's your grandson can have this Casio. I don't know who's with it. I haven't seen her there. He's coming down tomorrow, actually. Ben. I've given something like a couple of cupboards, you know. He's coming down to take them for his bedroom. He's coming down. Oh, dear, Barry, look. Barry, don't put yourself down, lad. We're here, Barry, for you. Don't ever say that, please. Don't say that. Just comment. Be ready. I read these lunatic comments. You know what I mean? That's the quote of it. That's the comment of the night. I thought you were doing a seance. Anybody there? I thought you were doing a seance. Oh, hello, beautiful. I'll be there. Do you know what? You know, if I was going on a bus tomorrow, you know where you usually get them, and you think of something that's been said or done or whatever, and you just start laughing, I'd be doing. I thought you were having a seance. Anybody there? Oh, that's funny. It is, obviously. So funny. The Anfield Toscana, I can see you. Phew. Where did everyone go? I think he went to the seance. We need Tom Slemon in. Better keep my mouth shut and let them think I'm a fool rather than open it. And don't, please, Barry, you're not a fool, mate. Please, Barry, don't do that. Don't do that, please. Please, it's just opinions. You know, see, we were talking about Trump. He came out and said, America won the war. He blatantly said it. And the others just participated. Forgot about the 27 million Soviets that died. So honestly, don't keep your mouth shut, please, Barry. No, don't. And these lads won't allow you to. No, I think we can see this chat, says the red bit. And the outfit. No, Frankie, keep that to yourself. Don't read it out. Okay, lad. That's a secret squirrel. Okay. Do you ever remember the series called The Squirrels? And it was not that funny. It was a very serious actor in it called Bernard Epton, and he was, the boss of this office. But so funny. And there's a fella named Ken, a Scouser. Dead funny. You'd always hear, all right there, Fletch. One of them type. Oh, you'd know it. I forget his name. Ken someone. Dead funny. Squirrel. See that now. Too Late Raw, we've all seen it. And the Anfield says, Johan, don't know if you can read this, but if Maguire didn't have a bloody head like a sofa, you'd be 1-0 up by now. Sofa. I call them threepenny bit heads. And no one knows. Well, I don't know whether you know what a threepenny bit was like. A threepenny bit was like, it was shaped, do you know, like a 50p piece? But there was more like little things, if you know what I mean, little bits. Well, do you know what? I knew to be a match on Sunday. A match on. It's Friday. Oh, yeah. That's where our Johans got to watch the game. Red Bears, all right, lads, you're back. Wonders what's going on. Some AI being writing stuff to Frankie, says the Anfield. And the Anfield where Barry says, your grey matter is as good as everyone's. I mean, Darwin Núñez is 179 IQ, but he has no brains in front. Do you know? Do you want to know mine? I've got an IQ of 172, so I'm far below Darwin. Yeah, see, the jokes and the laughs, and it's lovely. Yo, his shoulders was off, lad. Shoulder was off. That's Barry. That's Maguire, isn't it? He costs more than Virgil, doesn't he? He costs more than the Verge. Just looking at something there. And Myra says to Barry, outdoors and comment counts. It gives inspiration to other comments. That's right. That's right, Barry. Please, mate. Please don't ever think that. Please don't think, Red Bears AI is becoming a real problem. I said that to the missus, that AI has eaten all the chocolate on knobs again. There. You saw it was. It'll be great if you beat these. I don't know who these are playing, to be honest. Raw, if your missus believed that, you've done us, lad. You've done us, lads, proud. And Barry says, joke, Frank, you're meant to laugh. I think these are all lunatics myself. But you see how serious this was tonight, honestly. And just a comment like that can change everything into what you call comedy relief. Comedy relief. Comedy relief is a great thing. Well, I think so anyway. Give us a laugh. And Raw, says the Red Bird. Want the Devils to win. Now, I know you've had too many Peronis. I know he's doing it for Johan, isn't he? Raw, the dumb ones are the best. Redbirds, I don't want them Chelsea getting into the Champions League spots. And to Manchester United, they'll just move up to the 14th, so no worries. I'd go along with that. I'd want them to beat Chelsea. I'd want them to beat Chelsea. Man, you don't like that Chelsea. Don't like the fans. I always remember once in the cup, years ago, they were all waving £10 notes at us. A couple of seasons later, they were waving 20s. And the last time I went, when I was getting tickets and that, they were waving £50 notes. Does anybody remember that? Horrible. Good point that unfair though to the Red Bird. The unfair Red Bird. Wonderful women. Yeah. Didn't have a poor colours on the old Brittany bit. Didn't it? You're right there, Barry. Yeah. Poor colours. It was very much like, when I show me castle. There for next week, boys. And that picture there is authentic. That picture there is authentic. They've tried to, say that it's somehow a fake. And it was. It's real. Because the fellow who took it said, yeah, just the negatives. Couldn't do it. And even NASA said it's real, we don't know what it is. They had to come out and say it, because it wasn't a plane or a helicopter. So that's for next week, boys. That's great. Why I love being in this chat, says Barry. You're one of us, Barry. You're one of the lads and girls. Honestly. Frank, your IQ is up. Wow. Like I always said, you're a genius, and also your recollection skills are top notch. Quoting great writings at your age. But you have forgotten Liverpool chats. Yeah, it was done. I had to do it years ago now. Done it. Mensa was asked to do it. So I didn't want to do it, but I did it. That's what it came out as. I've got the certificate here somewhere. Somewhere. Can never find things. Never find them. But I get it, Raw. Neither do I want Chelsea in as champions, but still, it goes against my morals to want the Manx to win. Sorry, yo. I have outed myself to the red bear, says the outfit. Raw. Flattering Frank won't guarantee you as much. Therefore, I'm working on a strategy that Frankie, instead of having a 172 IQ day, he has a. Oh, don't talk about Kirsten. I don't know how these people become all these top professionals. I really don't. I really don't. Could you imagine today, talking about IQs? Could you imagine the IQ of, let's pick three people. Let's pick three people. I'll pick Plato. I'll pick Shakespeare. Now, I love, I don't get me wrong, I'm a specialist on this fella, Charles Dickens, right? I would have just picked it like that, but I tried to do it in chronological order. So, who would have picked 19th century instead of not picking Dickens? Leo Tolstoy, how about that? Those three. Plato, Greek philosopher. Shakespeare, the greatest, whatever. Leo Tolstoy. What would their IQs be? I know I picked mostly literature there. Plato. I love Oscar Wilde. He was a genius as well. A genius, and he was treated terrible by this country. Shocking. Myra, Frank, that's a blog. Third phase of moon shows lots of UFOs. Look away. I mentioned Tom Slemen before. I never told anybody anything. I always kept myself to myself. Never said whatever. I'm the best person in the world as well to keep a secret. And I don't open. If I get a present, like a Christmas present, where so like Jason always brings it out, but I won't open them till Christmas Day. Even not Christmas cards, but birthday cards. Anyway, and I'm like that. That's the way I am. It's like a secret. I don't say nothing to anyone. I won't. I won't tell anyone anything. I don't tell anybody. I'm like that. Now, this particular person said to me, are you going to tell anyone about what we've seen? And I said, no. No. And what I seen in France, tell it. And it wasn't in the air. It was down the valley. And went up there into a clear blue sky, and it vanished within 2 seconds. Could have been more, but like that, gone, just like that, vertical. And I thought then, I couldn't believe what I see. Never seen anything like it in my life. I'll have a go at that, Myra. That's why I got interested in these things, you know. So I'll have a look at the third phase of the moon. I'll have a go at that. The Redbird says, raw 2-tier star on IQ 20. You making him sound like some part of his brain works. They're just liars. That's all they are. They know the score. They know the score. They know what's going. They just want this war to carry on because they're making a hell of a lot of money. Why do you think, look, you had Stormer and that Lammy down, that Lammy. You had them, you know, calling Trump for everything. Think about it. And he sent over 100 activists on behalf of Kamala Harris's campaign. Stormer did. Lammy came out and said that he should be in jail in Trump. So think about it. Trump just signed a trade deal with Stormer. Why did he do that? Why? Can anybody answer me that? Why did he actually sign a trade deal with the UK? After all, what Lammy and Stormer said about him. So it's all greed. It's a part of greed because Trump, people were asking him, when are you going to do these trade deals that you promised the USA? You're going to make America greater. You're signing nothing. So he had to say, go to the UK. And the UK was made up because our economy is way down. And inflation hasn't hit properly yet. Fucking hell. The Anfield. Well, I'm going Toscana. At the best joke of the pod, and now the seance was over. We can all release our hands, everyone. Is there an Aubrey in the room? Aubrey. Do you know, like, you know when you see names and you see these wonderful, like Aubrey, what you automatically think of? You go, because none of your neighbours, as you were growing up, not one of your neighbours You know, you never went and shouted, "Hey, Mrs. Johnson, is Aubrey in to come out and play football down the road?" No one named people Aubrey to be, or Thurston, all these wonderful names, Thurston. Again, is Thurston coming out? You see, it's incredible that people with names you can identify with. Barry, I hope Spurs win on Wednesday. Can't have them Manx being the champion in the Champions League after finishing 16th or 17th. Is that when they're playing Wednesday? But what I'll be doing, I'm having no more like football pods until I'll be doing, the watch along, because we'll have a pre-match and we'll have a post-match, after the watch along. So I won't be doing any more until I get the season out of the way. And Barry, Lamford says to Barry, 100% agree. Sorry, Johan. No, Aubrey. No Aubrey, though. But there's someone with initials AI here. Does it ring a bell? Redbird. My missus calls my AI a bloody lie. Aubrey Redbird. Yeah, what if she would have been a lad? What if she would have been a lad? Audrey Hepburn. What if he was a named at Aubrey? Hey. There's an Aldridge draw. Is that near enough? Aubrey Aldridge. Barry Aldridge, of course. Man. Myra. Frank, you know your history. Who was the greatest influence, Isaac Newton or Francis Bacon? Francis Bacon he was ostracised by the Elizabethan court, believe it or not. He was ostracised because he was saying things. Francis Bacon was, I'm not saying a really great man, but as I said, he was ostracised for saying something against Elizabeth. So he went, oh, F off. And he became in 1584 a member of parliament for Liverpool. And yes, he never ever visited Liverpool. And regards to what people say, or to the contrary of what people say, that he wrote Shakespeare's plays. He was good, because there's a quote by him, readeth maketh the man, learneth maketh the man, essayeth maketh the man, and be the man. That's what he said. Francis Bacon. Sir Francis Bacon. It has to be Isaac Newton. It has to be. You know, the relativity and incredible. Isaac Newton. Really. You know, these are people. I can go back to Caxton, for example. Now, Caxton, he was always saying to himself, he must be better than this. Because when people used to go to him, they said, here, can you do something with them or whatever? And giving them sheets of paper. And he said, there's a better way than this. So anyway, he designed a machine that made those sheets of paper into books. The very first book that was printed was Canterbury Tales, Chaucer. And because Chaucer kept saying, yeah, I'll have a look at this here. So we put it in. It's a story. I had to do it for A-level. I had no fucking clue what I was doing. I was looking, I said, I can't read this. It's hard to understand. And that's what I try to tell people. If we went back, if all of us went back, right back in a time machine to like 1450, for example, let's just say 1450. Even Shakespeare's time, 1550. Let's go back then. And we went into I was going to say, we go in to the pub for a Peroni. Bottle of mead. Can we have a bottle of mead there, please? But can you imagine going into an inn? Because that's where all the intellectuals met. All the intellectuals met in an inn. Do you think that we could understand them? If one of them came over, two of them sat down by us and said hello, do you think we'd be able to understand them? No, we wouldn't. Believe that. So, Myra, the great Sir Isaac Newton, and it wasn't Einstein about relativity, it was Newton. Now, Frankie, is there a footy watch-along Sunday? My addiction to talk about. Yeah, there's a watch-along. There's a pre-match. I haven't a clue what time the match kicks off, but by the time it comes along on Monday, see, these are fucking funny time. It could be 7:30, it could be 8 o'clock, but it'll always be half an hour before the kickoff. You know, a pre-match, and then the match, then a post-match after it. That's okay. The last penultimate game, the last but one, the penultimate. I just want to see Mo Salah break another record. I'd love him to in the next two games. So yeah, Anfield. Frankie, but I do love all your shows. History now is my favourite, and the wonder on Anthony's face each time you reveal something is magical. But TV and movie show is brilliant. Frankie's matinee. I've got a thing to mention tomorrow, a film, and it was mentioned to me by one of the lads, but I'm not going to reveal who it was. And if I could have picked up my big telly, I would have hit him over the head with it after watching it. But you know somehow who it is, because I know he's not on here tonight. The IBR, even in Don Franco, up you spiffing old chap. Yes, spiffing. Hello, B. Hello. Yes. Do you know what I was watching? I can't stand this fella though. Have you ever seen 300? We are Sparta. We are Sparta. That bloody. Has anybody seen it? We are Sparta. And I'm like, and that's the way I thought he was just doing that. The first time I ever seen that, Jerry Butler, and it was in that years ago. And he fucking does it. That's the way his mouth is. I think he's a terrible actor. I don't think he can act a ghost, honestly. Oh, Sparta. Look, Mary saying hello as well. Jeez, lads, that's about as many as literally. There's Bill the Clopper statue. Bill Clopper statue. Is that great? Hey, Frank, how's it going? He made it tonight. We had a seance. We were doing some sort of paranormal, and we had a seance, and it frightened us. That's the lads. Seance we had. All because of Anfield Road. He said, listen, can we do this, you know? I've got to get us out the way. I've got to do this, do that, and I really need to see if it works. You know, a seance on this, it fucking worked. It's horrible. Then we had to come off it right away. Have you seen the Spanish film Clear Cuevas? No. No. No spells, no. Cape Bunnets. I was talking to this lad today. You're not going to believe what he fucking said to me, you know. Honest. I was just sitting there. He said, about drink. I said, you want a coffee? He said, all right, then I'll have a coffee. So I said, okay. This the fella I'm going to, you know, he's doing all this thing for me, the filming. And you're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to end on that. I says what he said. Just talking. And the next, I don't know how it came about. When I said about a cup of coffee, he said, he hardly thinks it. I drink a wine. I said, all right, you know. I said, you know what? I said, I only like red wine. I love red wine. And I only drink Rioja, you know, the reds from Spain. I don't drink, albeit I love Italy, always there. I always drink Spanish wine. And he went, I like it. No, he never said I like. He said, I drink red. I said, all right. I said, you know, do you want a beer? He said, no, just to make myself happy. So I thought, strange. So he said, when I have a sip of it, he said, I have a jelly bean to take the bitterness away from it. This fella's a great fella, by the way. Friend of mine. It was the first time I've ever heard him say anything like that. He likes red wine to get a little bit, you know, tipsy. But he has to eat jelly beans after each sip to take away. Fucking jelly beans and wine. It's hard to believe, isn't it? It's true. It's true. From 1976, says Bill Clopper statue. I watched it, and it's a brilliant film. I highly recommend. The music from the film is still stuck in my head. Barry says, you have to keep your cigarettes off. That's the game, isn't it? That's the game. Thanks, Barry. Frankie, I thought you was doing your I Hate You Butler from On the Buses. Oh, I hate you, Butler. Yeah. I remember him, you know, went down to see my Uncle Tony. He was at, he worked in Great Ormond Street Market, you know, a stall there. And I remember going down on Saturday morning and, you know, went to see him. And there's a bus, it was around the Labour, I think it was in the 1997, something like that. No, it was before then. But anyway, you know, there was a general election coming on, and there was a bus coming along, and he was on top of the bus, you know, to vote Labour. Vote Labour, he was a Labour. Butler. Should have heard all the shouting at him. Should have heard the Butler, hey, you like Butler, hello. I love you, Butler. Look, it's been great tonight. When play a VHS cassette tape, many times you get ghosts' images. I'll try and dig something out. When we do this again, or, you know, next time I see you, Myra, I'll get it out. And I used to use, I'm going back years ago, I used to use acetates with an overhead projector. I used to go and give talks as well, you know, used to carry it around, set it up, and my screen, great, you know, showing all the pictures. We'll get in here. Let's see. I'll just show you what I mean about an acetate. That's all. I'll just show you. Let's see if I can get that. Right. I'll show you about an acetate, what I mean. But this went up on a screen. Oh, for fuck's sake, is that upside down? Jeez. Yeah. And I used to put it up on the screen, big screen, you know, people on the stage. But it's not just this, you know, I show pictures and everything. And that's an acetate, you see. Now, on one of my acetates, I'll dig it out, and I'll show you. Whoever took the photo took a photograph of a ghost. I know it sounds freaky, mad, but I'll have to show you it. I'll have to show you. It's like, bear with me before I depart. My dear friend, I will depart very soon. Let's see. Let's see. Come on, refresh it now. Yeah, come on. No, come on. Okay. See. Oh, that's not it. No. 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 Yeah, I've got it. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you that, but you've got to be quick. Keep looking at the telly. Oh, for fuck's sake. Hang on. I'm going to show you that. Live. It's got to be. You've got to be quick. I keep looking. Oh, you can't fucking see it. I'm going to ask Jason to do this for me. And it's what I took. Honestly, it's what I took. You can't see. I'm going to ask Jason to do it. Right. It's it. Oh, for fuck's sake. Sorry. Right. But anyway, it's a UFO. It's a UFO. And I'm going to show you it. Right? I'm going to show you it from here. No, you can't see it. Oh, there, right. Okay. Okay. Now, that little thing in the sky, there, right. The bright light, the little streak underneath it, but the bright light above it is a plane coming into land. Right? This streak here, all of a sudden it appeared. It just appeared from nowhere, right underneath it. And then the other picture it took was that picture there. There's the plane, coming into land, as I said. This trajectory was going up, as you can see there. There. Coordination's terrible. And that went up, that was going up. So that was the other picture. Then I got to find the picture then. Oh, for fuck's sake, where is it? And there it is. That was the final picture. Can you see it? And can you see the plane coming in now? That was the final picture I took. Is it the final one? Yeah, that was the final picture I took. Incredible. Incredible. And then that was the very final one. And it was the plane on its own. See it's two lights. You can hardly see. It might be a little bit blurred, but they're two lights. And to the left, the picture, right in the corner, you've got that zoomed away. Incredible. Incredible. So I hope you're sorry to go on about your little UFO. IBR. Franco got huge. Barry Alden. Monday, oh bloody hell. Yeah, Monday night. The Red Bear. Until we meet again, take it easy, one and all. 99 Frankites. Thank you. Nice all, says the Anfield. Great show. Thank you. It's back on the booze. I'm going to stop drinking, so I'm clear as for TV and movies with Frankie in the back room. The back row, you met. I'll just say good night, boys and girls. I really do. I really will. It's just, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful night. Thanks for keeping me company. Really appreciate it. And I'll be back tomorrow at this television. And I'll take these off now. I'll see you all tomorrow with hopefully not all of you, but some of you at least. TV and review show. Film and TV review show. And most probably talking about football and other things and Trump. And so I'm just going to say, ci vediamo. A domani. Ciao bello. Ciao bella a tutti amici. Toscana. Cara mia, Toscana. Great shot. Thank you, Toscana. Thank you. Myra's gone. Thank you, Myra and Toscana, the two ladies who joined us tonight. Barry. Everybody. Even Bill Clopper statue. Callum. They're all watching the match. Johan. The Man United. Red Bear. Every single, the Anfield Road. I bet you, do you know what? I bet you any money, the Anfield, he's brushing up and everything, you know, making his wife a cup of tea. See the way he comes on all macho and going, yeah, it's all there to go, you know. We know the score, don't we, lads? And the IBR Stella, always late. Great show, but I only saw 30 minutes. Doesn't matter. You're here. Thank you. Thank you. And hopefully I see some of you tomorrow. Enjoy a film or whatever you're watching. Good night. Thank you. Buonanotte.